Obi-Wan would cleave Maul in two. He would do much worse. There would be nothing left of him.
Hello there, Star Wars fans. Today we're going to continue covering the short stories of the Clone Wars. It's a really excellent audiobook. It takes our favorite episodes of the Clone Wars and puts them into audio fashion, giving us a kind of look into the characters' minds. And that clip you heard, there's much more to come later in the video. This one is going to take us through The Lawless, where Maul kills Satine and Obi-Wan struggles. He struggles with containing the darkness inside of him. And it gives us a very graphic, very scary, very crazy, like something I never even thought. A look inside Kenobi's mind and all the dark thoughts that came to him. He was maybe an inch away from joining the dark side. And this is actually something I based my first fan fiction around. It was, what if Obi-Wan joined the dark side after Maul killed Satine? And I really enjoyed it. And someone in the comments said, hey, he almost did do this. Listen to this audiobook. So I did. And it was just, an inside look. So it starts off, the story does, with Kenobi in the Jedi Council quarters with Yoda and Ki-Adi-Mundi. Obi-Wan hears Satine, right, calling for him, saying, Obi-Wan, we need help. On Mandalore, like, the Death Water, someone's taken over and imprisoned her. And Yoda says, Obi-Wan, what do you make of this? Obi-Wan is like, we have to send help. We have to go help her. She's innocent. Death Watch has clearly taken over. And Ki-Adi-Mundi and Yoda do what the Jedi do best during the Clone Wars. They listen to the Senate rather than listening to the Force. They're not keepers of the peace at this point. They're keepers of the Senate, basically. And they respond to Obi-Wan, saying that they cannot go help Satine, stating the fact that the Senate just wouldn't allow it. And this, I'm not going to play I'm just going to play the one clip. It's very long later on. It's going to be the one where Maul kills Satine. But in the book, it's expressed in Obi-Wan's mind that he's angry, that he's bitter with the Council, that he's frustrated that they can't send help just because the Senate will not allow it. So, he begins to disobey orders, go off on his own, when Anakin actually confronts him. And this is something we don't see in the episode. Anakin says to him, going somewhere, Master? And the two begin to talk about Obi-Wan clearly disobeying orders right now, in which Anakin reveals Padme actually told him about Satine's message to the Jedi. And Anakin says he understands and he would do the same thing for Padme. And Obi-Wan says, Anakin, it's not like that. Kind of insinuating he knows Anakin and Padme are extremely close. And all the hints we can get to that, all the hints we can get that Obi-Wan secretly knew about those two is really interesting to see. So either way, Obi-Wan takes off in Anakin's ship. He lands, he meets up with Satine, and then when their ship crashes in their escape, Obi-Wan sees Maul and feels the hatred boil up. He says basically, he knows he's not supposed to hate, but this Darth Maul is the one exception, the man that killed his master. Obi-Wan's imprisoned and he's taken to Maul later on, where Maul is taunting him, holding up Satine, and then the worst thing imaginable happens. I'm going to give you an inside look into that, what Kenobi's thinking. This is, again, I recommend you go listen to the whole audiobook. It's outstanding. This just... I can't even express how cool the whole thing was, but especially this part. The vision Kenobi has. It's crazy. Alright, here you go. Here's the clip. Read to you by James Arnold Taylor, Kenobi's voice of the Clone Wars.
You can kill me, but you will never destroy me, Obi-Wan said, trying to keep his anger under control. It takes strength to resist the dark side. Only the weak embrace it.
It is more powerful than you know.
And those who oppose it are more powerful than you'll ever be. There was still a chance to turn this right. He could not overpower Maul, but maybe he could reach him. Maybe he could match Maul's fury, not with equal fury, but with understanding. I know where you're from, said Obi-Wan. I've been to your village. I know the decision to join the dark side wasn't yours. The Night Sisters made it for you. Obi-Wan cringed. The words had not come out as he'd intended. He'd wanted to extend a kindness that Maul had perhaps never experienced. But he let his own anger and his own fear infect his words with venom.
Silence!
Maul roared.
You think you know me? It was I who languished for years, thinking of nothing but you, nothing but this moment. And now, the perfect tool for my vengeance is in front of us. I never planned on killing you, but I will make you share my pain, Kenobi.
Maul drew a lightsaber hilt, and as Satine's struggle for air worsened, Obi-Wan's fear turned to terror. He twisted to free himself from the guards, only to receive a sharp blow to the head that knocked him to the floor. No, he would not let this happen. He would not. But with another gesture, Maul drew Satine forward. He ignited his blade, a wedge of blackness like a hole in space shot through with crackling white threads. The blade went through Satine's back. Threads of smoke rose from her chest. "Satine!" Obi-Wan gasped. He broke free of the commando's grip and rushed to Satine as Maul let her crash to the ground. Brushing the hair out of her eyes, cradling her in his arms, he felt something course through his veins. It was not blood. It was something simultaneously colder and yet hotter than blood. It was anger. He fought to hold it back and listened to Satine's last words. "Remember, my dear Obi-Wan, I've loved you always." Her fingers touched his face. "I always will." She closed her eyes. Her body went limp in his arms, and she was dead. When Maul killed Qui-Gon Jinn, Obi-Wan was stricken with sorrow. Sorrow gripped him again, but there was something else as well. Something dangerous. Something that scorched. Maul had ended all that. He'd extinguished a light in the universe and replaced it with shadow. Such an act was truly the definition of the dark side, and Obi-Wan burned with rage. With the rage came a vision. Eyes smoldering with hatred, screams in the red glare of a lightsaber. Obi-Wan would cleave Maul in two. He would do much worse. There would be nothing left of him, or the other Dathomirian, or the Commandos, those Mandalorian traitors. He would kill Almec. He would kill anyone who'd had a hand in overthrowing Satine, anyone who contributed to her death. And he would kill anyone who tried to stop him, anyone who stood in his way, by word or by deed, anyone. Maul laughed.
And now we see the true Obi-Wan Kenobi. The one he hides behind a mask of wit and charm. The one who yearns to be set free.
And if Obi-Wan gave in to his desires, he'd be giving Maul exactly what he wanted. He'd become the thing he dedicated his life to oppose. He'd no longer be himself. None of that was what Satine would have wanted. Not on her world. Not anywhere. You can't win, Maul. Not this way.
So how about that? Obi-Wan Kenobi, the unbreakable Obi-Wan Kenobi, was so close to falling to the dark side and cutting down Maul. Not just cutting him down, but completely destroying him, killing everyone in the room with no mercy, no remorse, nothing. And this is canon. This is crazy. So when you watch that episode, you now know what's going through Obi-Wan's head in that moment. The most horrific, just unleashed Obi-Wan Kenobi you'll ever see. I think he'd be super powerful if in this moment he went to the darkness. Just going completely off of it, taking on Maul, I think he would win. And I think he'd win, well, with some competition, but just letting the darkness take over and his hatred for Maul in that moment, I think it'd be crazy. But either way, let me know what you thought of that. I mean, this is just such a crazy look into what Kenobi was thinking. Something I really didn't think. I thought Kenobi was completely unbreakable, but hey, just another push, and he may have been over the edge. Ultimately, he did deny Maul, which was cool to see, and ultimately he traveled back to meet up with the Jedi, meet up with Anakin, where Anakin says, kind of confronts him and says, "What happened, Master?" And Obi-Wan tells him. And this line from Obi-Wan that you're about to hear, to end it, talking about the anger, talking about resisting the anger, gives us an even cooler look into what was going on in the events of Revenge of the Sith when Obi-Wan found out what Anakin did. So here's that. Listen to this, and I'll see you in a second.
Anakin was waiting for him in the hangar bay when he returned to the Jedi Temple. Obi-Wan tried to compose a calm and serene expression, but Anakin must have seen through it. "Master? What happened?" The words came with struggle. He didn't want to talk. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But he knew he needed to speak. He knew it was important that Anakin hear it. "I lost someone important to me," Obi-Wan said. "And I understand anger in a way I never have. I know how difficult it is not to give in to it." Anakin held his gaze a long time, struggles of his own evident on his face. "I have to report to the Council," Obi-Wan said finally. "May I come with you, Master?" Obi-Wan managed a smile. He clapped Anakin on the shoulder. "Yes," Obi-Wan said. "We'll do this together."
That line where Obi-Wan says to Anakin he understands how hard it is to resist anger, how hard it is to just not join the dark side is so cool to see. And I think I'm going to base it on my next fan fiction. What if Obi-Wan and Anakin would have confided in each other after this moment? Something like that. Coming out maybe tomorrow. So be on the lookout for that. Either way, wow, really cool, for real. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did. I do, I highly recommend going and finding the whole thing. It's so cool. Either way, that was fun. That was cool. Enjoy tonight's Mandalorian finale. And I'll see you in the next episode.